Hey folks, I'm back, and today I've aquascaped my smart aquarium, and we're going to take a look at the aquascape. It's a really simple thing that I did, and also I'll give you my initial thoughts on the smart aquarium and maybe whether or not you should consider it. So this tank's fairly small, and I knew that there's not a lot of fish that I'll be able to put in here. I went with a really simple aquascape too. It's got a little bit of a spotlight. Well, it's, very much so a spotlight, especially when you turn the light down a little bit and and it starts to dim. It's like sometimes barely perceivable around the outside of the center of this light here. And for that reason, I've done a really simple aquascape with these stones here. These are stones that I've wanted to use for a long time. And I'm glad I got to kind of work them into a project. I kind of imagined them on sand or maybe a lighter substrate. But the mixture of substrates that I used for this is one that I've been real successful with over and over again. So I decided just to try that out. All right, so let's have a quick look at the setup for this tank. All right, we're back here in my messy garage, and we're just kind of taking a look and seeing what materials we can use. I've got these rocks that I haven't, I bought them a long time ago, back at Aquatic Aesthetics in Chattanooga. I think they're really neat, really pretty, and they might look really good. I haven't had aquascapes I do don't really tend to use these particular rocks. Like it's sort of a lighter color. I tend towards darker things, but I think I'd like something kind of nice and light in there. So these are the rocks I'd like to use for the hardscape. Over here, if you saw the video where I talk about saving the abuse, quote unquote, saving the abuse, there's some abuse in here that I think is ready to pull out. There's one that sticks up right here. There's one in particular that's sticking up. It's like attached to the top, and I think it's actually hurting it a little bit. It's stunting its growth. So it's going to come out along with a few of its friends. I might pull a few things from in here. There's less great stuff going on in this one. But I might transfer some things that are kind of middling over to this, and eventually work towards maybe just having one of these under the lamp here. Especially now that it's winter time, I'm worried about it being close to the window and getting cold, but I'm going to go ahead and harvest out of here. So this is my substrate rack. At least these first two shelves here are all just substrates that I've used in the past. Maybe some filter material spread in here and there, and some other stuff like, you know, we got gravel, pumice stone, some towels, just a very little bit of peat moss. Just a mixture of different things. But up here at the top we've got more of the substrate-y kind of substrate, like the stuff that the more expensive things. And these are all just pieces, like whenever I do an aquascape I always have a little bit, or some project, you know, I'll have something left over. So I've got some Eco Complete here, like just a little bit. That's going to go in. Got some Fluorite Dark. I always like to include some of that, so it's going to go into. I don't have a lot to work with. It's a pretty shallow tank, so I can't like do a deep substrate with sand and stuff. I'd love to put sand in it, but sand sometimes doesn't look right depending on what creature you put in there. You got to put something that kind of sifts through the sand and moves around in the sand a lot before it really pays off. Over here we have a little bit of this live substrate. So this is a soil substrate that's meant to just put on top. It's not like the dirt. I also have some of that. But this tank is way too shallow, I think, in my opinion, for a dirted tank, and I don't want to go through the headache and all that. So I'm going to just do a little bit of this also. And if I need a little bit extra, I've got some stratum here that I can include as well, or I can include this aqua sand. I've got a fair amount of this though, and I'm kind of saving this for another project. Same with this too. This is that really nice sand. This is this nice brown sand that I really love. It's actually kind of expensive. I bought this as a treat for myself, and I'll have to do a setup with this at some point, but I don't think it's right for this one. I'm also not going to mess with aragonite in this one, And I probably won't need, this is like decorative gravel I usually use to kind of substitute there not being any plants. We're going for more of a minimalist look on this. It's funny, I still have father fish, this father fish mixture. I use this a lot in my wabikusa balls and my wabikusa bricks and stuff that I make. for the plants, I used these boost plants that I had been trying to rescue. I'd actually pulled a bunch of these plants aside, and I've been using them to, or trying to get them to kind of grow back a little bit. Also grabbed a couple of pieces of Anubis out of the 20-gallon. This is another place where I've got plants stashed away. So I grabbed some of those plants out of there. I didn't want to, I could have filled this entire thing with Anubias, but I've done that a lot. And so all of my tanks are starting to look alike. That's one thing about having a certain type of plant that grows really well in your house. It's going to just, end up all over the place and over at your friends' places and everywhere else. So because of that, I wanted to try to get the boost in there. I've always wanted a really nice looking boost tank. I don't know if this light's going to work out or anything's going to work out on this tank, so I didn't go hog wild on planting it out or anything like that. This is more just sort of an experiment to see how it does. I've got way overkill on the substrate and stuff in here. Honestly, if I don't like the way this light works, or the lid, or the lighting programming and stuff like that, then I could take this whole lid off and still use this aquascape with maybe different lighting and things. And there it is, all set up. So I guess it comes down to, do I recommend it? Well, at this point, I'm going to have to say no. The light scheduling for this, although I have figured out a way to get it to work, is really confusing. I work in IT. I spend a lot of time in servers. I build virtual machines. I control, networks of machines. I don't know why this was so confusing. Even to install that app, you have to set your location as China, and that'll allow the app to connect to this tank and recognize it and stuff, and then you can issue it commands. That basically means that every time you tell this tank something, it's going to a cloud server somewhere in China, then coming back and talking to your aquarium. That doesn't necessarily mean anything's harmful about it, but it's not probably my favorite thing in the world. I'd much rather it have like overrides or just full controls right on the device itself, especially with the one wire. So one of the benefits it lists is this low cable count, because there's just one wire that runs to this whole thing. Well, that means that if I decide I don't like the light, I can't disconnect it because it's all interconnected. The pump, everything's interconnected. Unless I want to completely remove all the smart features and just keep the tank itself, which is entirely possible. Then the part that really should have made this cost extra, is just kind of meh. As far as I know, there's no way to change the Celsius to Fahrenheit for us Americans, us Imperials. Imperials! I've never really used a fish feeder, and I only have just set this tank up. So I've run the fish feeder empty a couple of times. It's kind of neat the way it works, and I've got it set up on a schedule. It's even got a log, so I can kind of see where it's attempted to feed and whether or not it was successful, I guess. I do love that it's got controls for the motor and stuff, and that the motor can be stepped down and stepped back up. I don't really love the pre-attached supplements that they have for the filtration. Those are things that would have to be replaced and could get expensive. I suppose there's definitely a section of us that really love gizmos and things like that. They sent me this tank for free, and so I'm setting it up and I'm giving it a fair shot. But that doesn't mean it's right for you necessarily. If you like messing with things like that, it's probably okay. If you live in China, it's definitely okay. In fact, this tank has been sold before. There's old videos on this going back years ago. So there's nothing really super new about it. I'm sorry I forgot who you are, but on my last video about this, somebody made a comment that you could probably go to Amazon and buy a bunch of sort of smart features, maybe even a Amazon's plug or something, and use that to work different things maybe. But I don't know about the pump speed, although that's not something that's necessary, I guess, overall, especially on a tiny tank like this. Oh, one thing I did like that it does that I've never seen anything do is when it feeds, because the pump's because it's all integrated, when it feeds, it can supposedly turn off the pump for a few minutes. So you could have the water flow turn off and then it feed the fish, and then like 3 minutes later the pump comes back on. So I thought that was kind of neat. I haven't tested it to see if it works. In fact, don't consider this a long-term review. I may just decide I love it down the road, but right now the lighting schedule things kind of got me down. So I just don't understand exactly what it's supposed to do. Like if I turn it off, will the regular schedule work? There's another option in this Mi Home app. The Mi Home app's interesting. Like I said, you got to change your location to China when you install it, or it won't be able to communicate with your aquarium here. And by the way, the dude did give me an Amazon link. I'll go ahead and put it down below so you can satisfy your curiosity about it, or if you do decide to buy it, it's not an affiliate link. I'm not accepting any affiliate money for this at all. In fact, the only thing I got out of this really is a free tank. They sent me an email, hey, you want to try a smart tank? And I'm like, smart tank? I'm Pet Tech, of course I want to try a smart tank. And I'm not scared of a little aquarium either. I've been setting up little aquariums for years now on YouTube. As far as what am I going to put in it, I don't know. Probably some small fish. Or maybe a betta. I could probably, if it looks like it's looking really good and doing really good, I might bring a betta from downstairs and let him live in here for a little while and see how he likes it. Or bring in one of the other ones that I have around the house and let it live in here a solitary life. It's also probably a good option for a shrimp tank. I'll have to take a look at the intakes. I hate it when they all get stuck, like they'll have a whole family blossoming there in the filtration one of these things. So I'll take a quick look and make sure they can't bypass all this stuff, although they usually can. And if that's the case, this would probably be a nice shrimp tank too. Although I have a lot of trouble keeping shrimp on their own without like eventually planaria setting in. So in the app, it's got a mode that you can go to called D&D mode, which is compelling. But when you switch that on, it's not letting me right now. I might have to turn the lights off for it to work. So I'll turn the light off. Wait, that's the whole thing on. Turn on. We'll turn the light off. Maybe. We'll see if it'll perform. And this is what I was talking about. It's a little kludgy. It's been working okay. Oh, wow. See, it's communicating all the way out to China and then all the way back. So it's still on on-off mode, I think. Okay. So let's turn the lighting off. Okay, that beep is the acknowledgement. Turn off the lights. Okay. We'll switch it to D&D mode here. There we go. So D&D mode, it hides all of this stuff, and it's got its own schedule in here. And doing it that way, I was able to get the light cycle to work properly. Now I haven't played with it a whole lot on the other, but just on the regular schedule, it didn't seem to be working. And I was all set to just trash this lid and do something else before I came home from work and found it on and was pleasantly surprised. So I'll keep you up to date on this. There's more to come. So there's a little bit of a learning curve, maybe making it a little bit too much more for the price tag. Is a little iffy on whether or not certain things work exactly right. Again, that could be fixed with software, but this thing has kind of been around for a while, so if they're going to fix it, maybe they should have done it already. But I guess ultimately what it's worth is really up to you. It's what you got to spend, what you're willing to deal with to have this tank. And folks, that's all I got for you right now, but I got more stuff planned. In fact, I'm getting all the tanks cleaned up for the big end of the year all tank update. I am going to do another one of those, so that's coming up soon. A huge amount of my viewers don't subscribe. Feel free to subscribe. I'd love to see you again. I don't put out a lot of videos, but I try to put out good videos. I'm working on some new stuff for next year, so until next time, follow your bliss, keep a clean tank, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.